So we've just launched the world's first bond-resistant forced action mixer called the Rhinovator. And today I wanted to share it in action with you guys on a resin-bound install, which we did locally. It was a 40 square meter install in the colour champagne pink over in Northamptonshire. And well, here's how it went. First up, we loaded the Rhinovator onto the truck. It was pretty straightforward given that it's got larger loading wheels that have been designed specifically for the purpose of easy loading. A short journey to the site where our 6-part preparation process had already been completed over the past couple of days. This included a full dig out, installation of a geotextile membrane, a ground reinforcement grid, a decorative block edging, compacted MOT Type 1 hardcore, and then finally a rubber chrome base. Only once we've followed this very specific process will we then go on to install the resin surface. But if the preparation process ticked off, it was now time to unload the van and get set up ready for the install. Now for this job, we actually wanted to use one of our replacement drums because we didn't have time to clean out the last drum from the previous install, which we did. So a simple spin of the 6 quick release drum mechanisms, we pop the used drum off and the new drum back on. It only weighs about 5 kilograms or so it's easy enough to do. It was something that I did at a recent Futurescapes event, and I think even the guy interviewing me was quite surprised at how I was able to just lift it off myself. I digress slightly, but it was then time for the install to begin. The Rhinovator is a 120 litre forced action mixer, so it's kind of perfect for your standard resin mix. Just 4 bags of 25 kilogram washed and dried aggregates, 8 kilograms of a resin and hardener mix, and then finally binding quartz. Now the stability of the Rhinovator was a really important aspect for us in the design process of the mixer. So the Rhinovator is actually supported by a steel spine and a low center of gravity, which means it's extremely stable when mixing up in excess of 100 kilograms of material. Now mixing time does vary, especially because resin and hardener, once it's mixed together, becomes thermosetting. But as it was a cooler autumn day today, we had a little bit more working time with the mix. The main thing when you're mixing though is to ensure that the resin and hardener mix has sufficiently coated all of the aggregates before you take it out of the mixer and deposit it onto the surface. And I'll show you how minimal the cleaning requirement is on this specific forced action mixer in just a moment's time because it's pretty mind-blowing. The first mix went on though, and then the install began. The way we usually set up is that we have one person on the trowel, we have another on mixing duty, and then we have the third person who kind of floats between the person troweling along with the person who's on mixer duty, kind of getting the resin and aggregate mix out of the mixer and then depositing that down onto the surface. Now we found over the last 16 years that a 3-man team is kind of optimal for your average size install of, say, I don't know, 45 to 50 square meters. We've found that it helps deliver a smooth and seamless operation that helps optimize for productivity and efficiency. Now we do have quite a meticulous process when it comes to actually troweling down the resin, and we use a couple of different tools which actually help us out to create a kind of a smooth and even finish. Single-handed 750mm trowel, which is used to get wide coverage over a greater surface area. We also use like a trowel lube to keep the trowel clean during the install process as well. This liquid helps the trowel glide seamlessly across the surface, helping to not put any trowel marks into the surface, which of course is super important to ensure a professional finish. We also use a steel threshold bar too, which has a very important job, and that's to ensure that the surface is installed at a consistent 20mm depth right the way across the surface. From using a 20mm threshold bar, it prevents any low or high spots in the surface, which can be super easy to do if you're not using one, if you're just kind of troweling down by your eye. Now we will typically install a resin surface at about 30 square meters per hour, and as this was only a 40 square meter install, we were kind of in and out in less than a couple of hours. But whilst that can typically be the quick bit, the bit that takes up the most time during and after an install is the cleaning out of a mixer. It has on occasion literally added hours onto the end of a job or hours onto the end of the day when we're trying to scrape out a steel forced action mixer where all of the resin has bonded to the drum. Like, check this out. There was a steel forced action mixer which was sent to me from a hire company which was absolutely trashed because it hadn't been cleaned down properly throughout what looked like any install that had ever been done in it. That mixer is pretty much ready for the bin, and it's like burning through £3,000 worth of cash, which is certainly something that I don't advise. But with our bond-resistant forced action mixer, the cleaning process is a completely different story. Here's the typical buildup of resin and aggregates inside the mixer after a single mix has taken place. You can see that there is some resin and aggregates that have been stuck to the drum, but by using just a scraper, or if I'm honest, just an old rag that you might have with you, along with some of our non-hazardous drum cleaner, the resin literally just comes off without any hassle whatsoever. Here is a prototype version of the mixer where we told the guys just to not clean it at all over the course of an 80 square meter install, and we actually let the resin cure within the mixer before we even started to clean it. And here is the end result. We were literally able to just grab a scraper and peel it off the drum, pretty much leaving it as good as new. You may see a little bit of resin residue left on the mixer afterwards. However, by using that drum cleaner that I mentioned, it'll just come off straight away without an issue. So that was the install, a beautiful job with a beautifully clean mixer too. So if you do want to get your hands on one of the world's first bond resistant forced action mixers, well, I'll leave a link down in the description below where you can place an order. Or alternatively, if you would like to become a distributor of the machine, then be sure to drop me an email and we can have a little bit more of a chat about the different options available. Oh, and before you go, be sure to subscribe to the channel for more resin bound content, along with checking out this video next if you're interested, which was our official launch of the Rhinovator.